What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. There's growing speculation that Stephen A. Smith is considering running for president in 2028. In recent months, and when you think about it, in recent years, Stephen A. Smith has dropped hint after hint after hint that he is weighing, or at least would be susceptible to overtures for him to run for the presidency. In recent years, we have seen Stephen A. Smith step increasingly away from the arena of sports into the world of politics and opining about various issues dealing with politics and dealing with society and social issues, etc., etc. We've seen him do this more and more often. We've seen him make appearances on Fox News. We've seen him on his show, the Stephen A. Smith Show, the podcast, bring on guests who are from the world of politics, whether they're pundits and even politicians. So he's definitely began dipping his toe into that realm. Now, recently, on his podcast, the Stephen A. Smith Show, Smith hinted that he might consider entering the political arena. He said, quote, "The Democratic Party looks so pathetic after this election, I might entertain running. I just might change my mind one day. I doubt it, but I might. Because how much would it take to beat y'all? And Trump can't run again." However, during the interview, on Hannity, Smith clarified his stance, firmly stating that he has no plans to run. "My lifestyle is quite lovely. I would not want to ruin that by running for the presidency of the United States of America. I have no interest, but I was just trying to make a profound point." These are my thoughts. And please tell me what you think about this situation. Number one, as far as him running for president, would this be a serious bid, or would this be more of an ego boost for him? Would this be more of an ego boost / popularity contest count type thing? Like, would he actually run because he genuinely feels that this country needs to be transformed from the ground up? Do he think that he could be a force that could be injected into the system to create a net positive change in this country? Does he really knows? Is he really willing to get into the political arena, knowing how dirty politics is, knowing how frustrating it could be, knowing how much of a burden it is to run a campaign, how stressful it is, how time-consuming it is? Is he really interested in that? All for the net positive benefit of trying to make, or at least trying to do everything he can to create positive change in this country? Or is this all just, I want to stroke my ego, I'm a narcissist, I want to see just how many votes I could get if I run third party, if I run during the primary, etc., etc.? I don't know. I'm assuming and I'm assuming now, I'm assuming if he runs, that he'll probably run as a Democrat. Because let's face it, the field for the Democratic Party is pretty damn weak. Pretty damn weak. I mean, who's the front runner? Kamala Harris? Come on now. It's pretty weak. So I would assume, although people tend to look at him as being right wing, but I think what Smith has been trying to do lately is he's been trying to, if you look at it, I think it's in his mind. I know he tends to say, "Oh, I'm not running. I'm not." He brings it up too much. It's brought up way too many times recently. Whenever he is having these appearances on The View or certain platforms, and it's always getting brought up. Now we're going to run, and he'll say, "No, no, no," but it gets brought up way too many times, as if people are asking him, "Are you going to run?" And sometimes I get the feeling like he wants them to ask him that. You know what I'm saying? But I think that he wants to identify as a centrist or maybe even a slightly skewed right of center Democrat to differentiate himself from the disaster that the Democratic Party has become. And if you really look at what Stephen A. Smith is talking about and the way that he's approaching it, I hate to say this because I don't like to give this motherfucker no credit. I don't. I like to give him any credit, but what he's doing is pretty damn smart. Because right now, while the Democratic Party is out of power, he's going to continue to be a Trump critic, but he's been an even harsher critic of the Democratic Party. And it deserves to be criticized because the Democratic Party is in shambles and it's a disgrace. And that aspect of it, I agree with him. I would never in a million years vote for Stephen A. Smith because I think he's a clown. Right? But don't sit up here, ladies and gentlemen, and say that it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that he could run for president and that he could actually win the nomination, let alone win. Because look who's in the White House now. Did anybody truly believe? Would anybody have truly believed if, and back in 2012, if they told you that Donald Trump would be a twice elected president when he was a reality TV star, nobody would have taken that bet. If you go back in 2012, when Mitt Romney was a nominee, and when Mitt Romney lost, if you would ask people who the nominee in 2016 was going to be, most people would probably told you maybe Jeb Bush. Maybe Jeb Bush, maybe Ted Cruz, maybe Marco Rubio. If you said Donald Trump, people would have laughed in your freaking face. So I wouldn't sit up there and say that it's impossible that Stephen A. Smith could win. I can't say it. Because I've seen the mainstream media, which, by the way, Stephen A. Smith is a member of this fourth estate and has been a member of the fourth estate for a good 35 of his 55 plus years, whatever how old he is, 57. He's been part of the fourth estate for 35 plus years, right? Somewhere along that range, about 30, 35 years. You're not going to tell me the same media that turned the bumbling, incompetent moron that was Kamala Harris into Barack Obama 2.0, that they can't build him up, Stephen A. Smith, into the next coming of Barack Obama 3.0? I can see that. Because let's face it, individual people are very intelligent. Most of you who are subscribed to me are very, very intelligent. But the masses of people are stupid as shit and sheep. And all that, I could easily see them pumping up the mediocrity that Stephen A. Smith especially when you contrast him to the politicians out there today, and they can literally make this guy seem like he's a rock star. I can see it. Plus, he has the gift of gab. Um, all he has to do is be able to just articulate an argument, which he probably could. He's a great talker to a certain extent. I could see that. Now, most of us who are familiar with him and know bull crap when we smell it knows that he's a fraud. But I mean, Trump kind of, I'm sorry, man, Trump kind of exposed the American people to me. You know, Trump tapped into, it's not even about Trump, it's about what Trump represents that makes his supporters support him so much. If Stephen A. Smith can find that magic formula, because he is shrewd, I could see him doing it. By the way, I'm going to tell you another reason why you can kind of look into this and find this to be somewhat credible as far as him running for president. I'm not saying he's going to be successful, but I think it's on his mind. The fact that he's been hinting at getting married, that has been kind of pretty much a prerequisite for the most part for any presidential candidate to get married. We know that hurt. What's his name? The senator from South Carolina, Tim Scott. We know that hurt Tim Scott because of the persistent rumors about him. You know, whatever. He hadn't been married. We've only had one bachelor president, and that was James Buchanan. But other than that, of the 45 men that have become president, 44 were married. One, Grover Cleveland, got married in the White House. So, yeah, that does matter, especially in today's world. So, when I look at the whole situation, there might be something to this. There very well might be something to this. Maybe I even should have done this video. Knowing him, it'll go to his head. But, of course, there's a lot that you got to do when you run for president. You got to get support. You got to be able to raise money, a lot of money. I mean, an exorbitant amount of money. You have to build a campaign from the grassroots, from the grassroots up into and extend it into ultimately a nationwide network of volunteers, subordinates, surrogates. I mean, it takes a lot to run for president. I mean, if you're going to be a major party nominee, you probably, in 2028, you're probably going to have to raise at least a couple of billions of dollars at this point to run a campaign from the primaries to the general election. At the very minimum, you have to raise that amount of money. Now, the one built-in advantage that Stephen A. Smith has is that he is a member of the media. Remember that. And this time, if he chose to run, there's no Trump. So the Republican Party might be in a leadership deficit. Everybody assumes it's going to be J.D. Vance, probably. J.D. Vance is, in my opinion, a much more skilled politician. I don't know if the Trumpers, I assume they would, but I don't know if the Trumpers will be as enthusiastic about J.D. Vance as they are Trump. You know, Trump is like a phenomenon. But anyway, we'll see. Tell me what you guys think. And like I said, I know a lot of people are like, but this is absurd, man. What are you talking about? Stephen Smith got a snowball hill chance. Man, don't, like I said before, don't underestimate the stupidity of the American people. I never do that. Nope, not in today's world. Anyway, that's all I got to say about. Tell me what you guys think.